You're now listening to the Diversity Roundtable. I'm Pamela Klaba, entrepreneur, inclusion enthusiast, and the founder of Nonkosi Creatives with over 2 decades as a corporate HR professional. My goal is to give you insights into conversations with entrepreneurs and corporate professionals who have insightful stories of triumph and leadership. I uncover my personal journey from cultivating diversity and promoting inclusive communities. We'll also find out why building a prosperous society is vital for leadership roles. Subscribe and get ready to rise, lead, and help define the spirit of South African excellence. Good day, good day. Welcome to the Diversity Roundtable on episode 18. I'm your host, Pamela Klaba, and guess where we are today on this end of September day to close off Heritage Month in South Africa. We are so privileged to have been invited by the one and only Nonhlanhla Joye, farming pioneer, a woman who's doing amazing things in our country, in this landscape. So we are in Durban and we are at a really, awesome venue, Capital Zimbali, in Durban North. And we've been invited by Usis Nonhlanhla Joye from Umgibe Farming Organics. And we've also been invited through her partnership with Momentum Metropolitan Holdings to really have to listen to her story and the amazing work of what she does in incubating women in farming, young entrepreneurs, and really making an impact in our social political landscape as far as food insecurity is concerned, as far as making sure that the young people in this space have the necessary skills that are much needed in the farming communities. So I'm not going to steal her thunder, and I don't want to go on a full-on introduction. I wanted to do that herself because she's got such an amazing story and an amazing journey of overcoming challenges. She's going to talk to us about her wins, her joy, how she overcame some challenges, where she started and why she started, and where she is today, her vision for the future, and overcoming challenges. And actually, even, before we even get into the discussion, let me tell you that we are sitting with a multi-award winning female powerhouse in farming, so that you better recognize that who are we sitting with here today. So, this is not like first and foremost, I was telling my colleagues today that, how I met you, and I actually realized that it's not even been more than 3 months that I actually got to know you. But, looking at your profile, you inspire me so much. So, guys, social media is real and it connects people with the same purpose and vision. So, I got to meet Nonhlanhla through LinkedIn. And I was going through her profile. I like reading people's profiles because it's what I do. I like talking to people. And I was like, how do I get into farming? So I was reading her profile. I was like, no, this can't be real. I was not even aware that women like you exist in our spaces. That's just how naive I was. And it was all started by that. What is it that I can do with my little land that I have somewhere in KZN that I inherited through family? And what can I do? And I started going through her profile. I was like, oh my gosh. And I just started posting and reposting everything that she was posting so that I can just say to people, do you understand who this is? But anyway, let me keep quiet before I trip over myself. Sis Nonhlanhla, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for having us. You are so modest and you are so humble, right? But I think let us into your space. Can you just tell our viewers and our listeners who is Nonhlanhla Joye on a personal level?
Where do I start? My name is Nonhlanhla Joye. I was born in a little village called Umpise in Guamapundo in KZN. I am the second daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ngubane, the late. And I grew up with parents that were so passionate about farming. And I hated it. with a passion as well. Because it meant that when other kids were playing,
Yeah.
I had no time to play. I had to be in the fields.
Yes.
You would wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
And you will eat, and the next thing you are to the fields.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, my father was an evangelist, a Lutheran evangelist, which meant I was staying in a mission house.
Yes.
So the school was closed. So
Yeah.
I had to only what you call leave the fields when the bell had about 20 minutes to ring. Then I would go and wash and then get dressed and go to school. When I come out, I only had to come out of the gate. I'm already at home, and I eat again, wash my clothes, go back to the field. So you can imagine my hatred for farming.
I'm just a
Came
child,
from.
I want to play.
Exactly. And I
Yes.
couldn't have friends.
Yeah.
I couldn't have friends because if a friend is visiting me, she was a visitor the first day she comes. The following day, we are being given the who's to go and work
Yeah.
in the field, and no one wanted to visit me because there was no holiday. It was working.
Yes. Yes.
And at times, I used to ask myself, are they really my parents?
Uh-huh.
Or am I adopted? You know, because we were working so hard.
Yes.
And little did I know
Uh-huh.
that they were preparing me for the future. And I couldn't wait to go away from home. But fast forward to 2014. 2014 found me without a job because I was diagnosed with cancer. So I found myself without a job. I was having a family to feed, and I didn't have any means to do that because one, the treatments are expensive. All the things that come together with that. It means you have to actually change your lifestyle. And I remembered that my father used to say, I should never ever become ukamsangtele. Ukamsangtele in Zulu, it means the one that is always opening their mouth and expecting somebody to feed them. If you still have got a brain and you've got your limbs working, there's nothing stopping you. That's what he used to say. And then I started a backyard garden. I'm now living in a what you call one of those houses in Ketomena, small, with a very small backyard. But I wanted to feed myself. I've always been independent. I always worked for myself.
Yes.
I didn't want anything from anyone.
Yes.
Not because I'm proud or anything. It's just
Yes.
that I was raised to say you are accountable.
Yes.
For whatever
Yeah.
you do with your life.
Yes.
So I started putting the garden.
Uh-huh.
It was coming so nicely, and then all of a sudden the chickens came from the neighbors, came and ate everything. I was so devastated. I cried. Literally, I cried because that was my food in that yard. I was sick. I had no way of having food. And here I was growing my own food organically, and I was going to have my own fresher than Woolworths kind of meal.
Yes.
And then the chickens decided to beat me on it. So I had to think, how do I grow vegetables without the chickens reaching them? That's when I innovated around the problem. I created a wooden structure. This wooden structure, I hang I hung all the what you call the plastic bags, discarded plastic bags, and I started putting the soil and I grew things. And I put nails and I hung that, and it worked. When it worked, I had so much food in my yard that I started selling. And it was like even God was supporting me on that because I was able to make 13,500 out of a very small, what called wooden garden.
And this was what, in 2014?
In 2014. Then 2015, I continued. Now I was telling others how to do it who were in the same problem as I had. So we started, the Umgibe. Then one day somebody called me and said, "How much is your Umgibe growing system?" And I'm like, "I have got a system."
So this is word of mouth.
Yes.
This is just word of mouth.
Word of mouth. I've got a growing system. I've got a growing system. I didn't know. How do I charge? I undercharged and I found out the materials were more expensive than what I had anticipated. But that was my learning curve.
Yes.
And I started selling these growing systems. 6 meters, 3 meters, in different, depending on whether I was doing it for charity organizations or was doing it for schools.
Yeah.
And what got around, and got hollered buying what you call quite a lot of them, and that is when I started growing. And I started getting the awards, and first award I got me like 25,000. I put it back on the business, and the second one, then 2017, it was like raining of these awards, because I got about 11 awards in 1 year. And 4 of them international. So I didn't know what it is that I was doing, because when I was doing what I liked, suddenly farming became my life. I don't want anything, even today. I don't want anything. I want farming. I want to see people eating. I want to see people eating healthy, because when one of the things that was discovered while I was sick is that I had some remnants of some residue of some chemicals in my system. I'm a healthy eater. So every time I went to a restaurant, I would order a salad. Little did I know that sometimes the vegetables you eat still have got some remnants of the chemicals that were sprayed onto them.
Yeah.
So all along, I'm thinking I'm eating healthy, but I'm actually ingesting those chemicals. That's why I don't eat anything that is not organic, that is not, especially not grown by me. Because if I grow it, then I know it, that it is for real, the real thing. So my love for community development grew. I started selling. I started collaborating with other farmers. We started what you call supplying together.
Yeah.
And today I'm working with more than 3,000 farmers all over, including Limpopo and everything. So I've trained, I don't know how many people, more than 18,000 if you ask me. But it's something that is in me, and I want to see people eating, not just eating to fill their stomach, but eating to what you call, to have a nutritious meal. No child sleeping without food in their stomach. 2018, I went to a school to give them vegetables that was left. And they said to their kids in the school that come to school without food and go back home not knowing whether they're going to eat or not. Imagine. So the teachers were very concerned. They called us and they said, can we work together to do this? Then I remember there was a lot of files, and I thought it was just the files. They said, no, these are the files of those kids. There were more than 201 kids in one school. Imagine if there's 201 kids in one school. How many kids go to school without food in South Africa alone? Or let us say in KZN alone. So that is when I started what we call Stop Hidden Hunger Foundation. It talks to kids being taught skills at a very young age so that being accountable is not taught when people have already got their own opinions. But if you start at someone who is 3 years old and you teach them that the food comes from the soil, it means that kid is going to grow up knowing that if I want to eat, I must what you call plant something. And that is where they stop hidden hunger. Because for us, we're not dealing about hunger for the stomach alone. We were dealing with the mental hunger, the emotional hunger, and the physical hunger. Because at the time when I started, there was this big, what you call, sugar daddy.
Mablesa.
Yeah, Mablesa, the Blesser syndrome thing. Yes. And you realize.
And it's so real, gosh.
You realized that some of these kids are hungry.
Yeah.
For attention. Just to get attention. So anyone who shows them attention and then buy them with money and gifts, that child's life is gone. Ruined. But if we could teach these kids that they can be independent, they can actually make it for themselves. They can actually go beyond what other people are telling them. So these programs were not only dealing with gardening only, it would have been boring. They were dealing with personal development. Me, we, us.
Yes.
There is something that I always say. I always say that if you take a glass of water and you put water and then you put 1 granule of potassium permanganate, it changes the area where it lands. There is that color. Where it lands, it changes. So we are all born change makers. We just have to know which area do we land in this glass called life. So if you add more granules, you come up with a solution, a potassium permanganate. So if you take kids like the ones you saw just now, and you put them together, and they go to their areas, they change their communities, you've managed to come up with a solution. 1, they produce work. They feed their families. They restore dignities within their families. There are people who we live with that can be able to do something about their lives. They just need that just granule. That's one granule in that glass, and realizing that they too can be a solution. Because if you know that you've got a problem, I believe that you already have a solution at the back of your mind. Otherwise, you wouldn't have seen that it is a problem. If you see that it's a problem, then you know. Yes. You've got an inkling of how what to do. Maybe you just don't have the resources. Of how to change it. For me, I didn't know what my purpose in life is. until 2014 when I got sick.
Mm.
That's where my purpose is to change people's lives, to work, to stop that hidden hunger, that wishful thinking that I wish I could be able to do this, but then letting the fear convince you that you can't do it, and then listening to the outside noise of those people that say that will never amount to anything, that tell you it's impossible. The only thing I don't do much for these kids that you see out there, for those entrepreneurs. I just tell them that they can do it. Because no matter how much passionate I am about them doing something, if they don't see and they don't find it in themselves that they can be able to do it, they won't be able to do it. And also, one of the things that is important is to find people whose glasses are half empty. Because if I pour something in a cup that is already full, it is waste. So I do what I call waste management, human waste management. Yes. Because if I tell you something and you already told yourself that you're not going to listen to me. But if I come to you and you still have got space to listen, then you are going to learn. The lessons are going to land somewhere. Some of the things that we do as entrepreneurs is that, or as human beings, is that we listen, but we listen to answer. We do not listen to understand. Where there is no understanding, there is nothing you can do. We talk about inclusiveness. You cannot include oil in a glass of water because oil is just gonna always sit on top.
Yo, you know what? Honestly, this is not like I could sit. I remember the first time I had a face-to-face encounter with you last month. And I always say to my daughter, you know what, I could sit and listen to you the entire day, and because the way you just break it down and you articulate it and, you make it sound like not easy, but you just make it so aspirational, right? Because it is. But I'm sure, right, along the journey, there've been some challenges that you've had to overcome, because I'm just trying to now imagine, here you are, you find out now that you are not well, and there's no source of income, there's a family to feed, other than the family, you have to feed yourself, you have to get well, right? And you live within a community, right? And human nature also is such that let's see what this one is doing, what's going to happen, right? So can you walk us through the journey of just some of maybe one or two challenges that you've had to just really overcome, and you look back today and you're like, I can't believe I went through that and I overcame it, and here we are today? What are those?
I've had so many doors shut in my face that I've lost count. I've had so many people telling me point blank that what you are doing, you are fighting a losing battle. We've worked with cooperatives. They do not work. And I have encountered people who would let you use the land. The minute it has been improved, they take it away from you. Or you get people stealing so much that you decide, you know what, let me just leave because this is not going to work. And then I got this big contract with Frymex to grow potatoes. I was very happy. So we planted 30 hectares of potatoes. That is a huge, amount of potatoes and a huge amount of money to put down. Then the floods came. When the floods came, I did not even harvest one bag. I mean, one bag of 30 hectares of potatoes. You can find it on Food Mzansi. It's there. Lost over 3 million rand. Gone. And then we had chicken layers, and they were also washed away by the structures were destroyed and the floods, and we ended up having to actually cull the chickens. And then came 2022. 2022 was hard. I lost my mother, and I had lost my father during the COVID, and some of my relatives. However, 2022, I had a robbery at home, gunpoint and everything, typical South African kind of thing, and I still have nightmares on that. And 2022, I lost those potatoes, and then I ventured into broiler chickens. And then there was load shedding, stage 6. I lost so many chickens, and those that I did not lose, they did not develop well because there was so much heat. I could not control the heating system and everything. And then I culled most of the chickens so that I can be able to at least salvage the money to actually sell them as prepared ones, dressed ones. Escom, there was no electricity. They rotted. I had another so I had the worst year. I had the worst year of my life. But I'm one person. I trust in God. And I know that anything that dies, it grows. As a farmer, I've learned that for the seed to actually grow, it has to die first. And then...
Can you explain that concept? Just simplify it, for some of us that just don't understand now what you are saying. The listeners,
you see, for the seed, you put the seed on the ground. Imagine it's dark, it's murky, and then everything. And then it actually has to disintegrate a little bit first, so that out of that then comes a fresh bud for that particular seed. And it now has got a new life. So as human beings, we are made differently. We were born resilient. It's just that we do not use all the power that we have. I've sometimes done things when people said it can't be done.
So, Nonhlanhla, what type of resilience is this one?
The resilience of knowing that if a child is born, they have to go through stages. And one of those stages is to what you call crawl. And then one day they go up by the wall, they start walking. If they start to walk by themselves without holding onto something, they fall. There is that first fall. But can you imagine what will happen if a child would fall once and say, I'm never standing up, I'm never going to walk again because when I took my first steps, I fell. How many people will we be having in an adult stage still sitting down? Life is like that. You fall, doesn't matter how many times. It's how many times you stand up and try again. Because if there is no door for you, try the window. Try the window. Or even the roof. But try something.
2024. Right. Where are you in 2024? I'm just like, I don't even know. I'm trying to imagine, right? And I know that I can't even say, if I were to walk in your shoes, because, I can't walk your shoes, right? Why do you keep going then? Why?
Because I found out that my purpose in life is to stop hunger. That's my purpose in life. How do you stop something that happens every day? Mm-hmm. How do you stop doing what you call working on something that happens every day? Mm-hmm. Hunger is one thing that is guaranteed. Mm. The stomach has got no credit. It doesn't care whether you are sick, whether you are working, you are not working, you are rich, you are poor. It wants its thing. Did I tell you that I started the company that I have with 400 rand between me and my poverty? 400 rands between me and my poverty. But when you look at where I'm coming from to where I am today, by the grace of God, I know that there is a God out there. Somebody once asked me, how do I do it?
Yeah, that's why I'm asking these questions. What kind of resilience is this? How do you keep going? But you've just said it perfectly, right? You've said it in such a perfect way. But another thing that I need to just throw in there is that you work with human beings, right? And human beings, they'll give you joy, and there are those that will be at your corner at any day, any time of day, right? But then there are also human beings that you give and they take. So talk to us about that.
You are right. I've had so much joy in what I do. But I've also had so much betrayal from the very people that I've helped. And some of them prefer to paint their own picture. But I realize that I can't be loved by everyone.
Yeah.
I'm not money.
Yeah.
Until I become money, I can't expect anyone to love me, everyone to love me.
Yes.
And I have also realized that I am not doing this for somebody to clap hands for me.
Yes.
And say, well done. I'm doing it because it's who I am.
Yes.
It's what I want to do.
Yes.
Helping somebody.
Yeah.
You see the joy I see.
Yeah.
When I see these kids inside there, those kids that came there knowing nothing.
Yeah.
Today they're entrepreneurs who are becoming commercial farmers. There is no joy because I know that I'm just an old candle that is lighting new candles. I'm passing the baton to the next generation. It's not about me. I don't care whether I'm at that stage. I've reached that stage in my life. I don't care about material things. I don't care about money. I need it because I need to live. However, for me, if you see me doing something, know that it's not about money. It's about achieving that humanitarian, what you call, goal that I have of no poverty, no hunger when there's still soil.
Especially when you've lost also so much money.
Exactly. And also of teaching a man to fish so that they can eat every day instead of giving them. My method is hands up, not hands out. It is as simple as that. And I hate people. I hate laziness. I don't hate people. I hate laziness. If you are lazy, walk as far away from me as possible. Because there is no space for laziness. Yes. Some people, sorry to say this, are oxygen thieves. They are taking the oxygen that should be used by people who are useful because they just breathe. They do nothing. Lazy.
So, your journey with Momentum Metropolitan Holdings, how did that come about? To our listeners and our viewers, I hope you're soaking this in. Yes.
It was through Kathy, Dr.
Kathy Harley.
Yes. We've known each other for some years now. And Momentum, and Agri Enterprise, they wanted farmers, women, under 35.
Yes.
60 of them.
Yeah.
They couldn't find even 10. And Dr. Haley said to them, there's only one person I know who can find those farmers for you.
Yeah.
And that is when she came to me. She said, here's the story. Can you find? I said, I can find 200 if you want.
Yes.
So within a week, Momentum was down here. They came, they saw what we did, and then we started recruiting the farmers. Yes. And these today are the farmers that we recruited 3 years ago, and now they are on phase 3. And now they are no longer participants. They are now entrepreneurs with their own businesses, deriving some revenue from their own businesses. And that is what makes my heart sing. Because every time they succeed, I thank God. Because I know it's not my own wisdom, it's not anything, it's just God assisting me in doing what needs to be done. In an African context, it is said that it takes a village to raise a child. When we say that, we are no longer saying it because villages are long dismantled, but we are saying it in a sense that if I can help, let me help. For the sake of Ubuntu.
Climate change and farming.
Oh, climate change. Climate change is what happened to me in 2022. And climate change is what has happened to Patricia Hose. She woke up last week with all her spinach covered in snow. You have no idea how I had palpitations because I had
not
been
again.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was so proud of her having planted 20,000 spinach, and the next thing I see her with her kids playing in the snow on the very same near the very same field with spinach covered with white snow. And I'm trying to call her, she's not answering. And then when she finally answered, I said, Patricia, tell me what's happening. She said, "Ma, everything is going okay." I'm like, okay. Thank God. Because I was thinking,
Yes.
20,000 spinach.
Gone.
Do you know how much money that is?
Sure.
It would be gone. And this young kid is trying to make a living for herself. So I climate change is real. Two, we need people like Momentum and other insurance companies to start looking seriously at small scale farmers insurance.
Yes.
Something that is going to be tailor made to meet the needs of these people. Because it's one thing when a big commercial farmer loses a crop, they've got insurance and they can take the hit.
Yeah.
With us, if it's gone, it's gone. For me, the potatoes were gone. They were gone. And there was nothing else I could do. Even today, I'm still owing for some of the things that I bought, a loan that I got in order to buy that. I'm still owing even today. So I'm still paying. So climate change is real. Let us be innovative around our farming ways and always be ready. And also don't forget everything that happens, there is a lesson to be learned. I've reached a stage in my life when I don't ask, why is this happening to me? But I ask myself, if this had to happen again, what lesson have I learned in order to mitigate anything like this happening in the future? And I'm also asking God, what is it that you want to teach me through this?
Yeah.
And how can I transfer that knowledge to other people so that they don't fall into the same what called gap that I have fallen into? So it's trials, it's tribulations, whatever you want to call it. But to me, I call it a university of life.
Yo, Joye, you know what? I think we've been talking now for over 40 minutes. And and we could talk the whole afternoon, but hey, now they'll start chasing us out of here. But I'm just thinking, you know what? As we prepare to close, as we really prepare to close, and I think something that we're talking about earlier in the week, you're supposed to be in Ghana, right?
Yes.
In a week's time.
Yes. I know, not in a week's time.
In 2 days' time. Tomorrow.
Should have been in.
Yes.
I should be leaving today.
So why are you not leaving?
I can't leave.
Why?
Because tomorrow we are visiting the farmers that are here in their own field. So Momentum could be able to see the fields, and I have to be there.
So can you tell us about this Ghana initiative now that you're not going, because obviously you have to continue your journey with Momentum over the next few days and you're in the farmers. But what is this Ghana initiative? Maybe just to enlighten us.
It is actually, it's Africa Startup Ecosystem Builders Awards. Umgibe has been nominated. We are the nominees for the Startup Builder of the Year. It's a Startup Ecosystem Builder of the Year, and Youth, what you call Supporting Organization of the Year. And so we have been nominated, and I'm supposed to be in Ghana receiving those 2 awards. But I'm here, and I had to be here. These are my kids, and the relationship that we have with Momentum is one that is putting these kids to places to platforms where they never would have been. So, yeah, so duty comes first.
So, you know what? You are such a you are such a blessed woman.
I am indeed.
You are blessed. Honestly, you are blessed, and and this story needs to be told far and wide. I know that it's been already told, but also I'm just so excited about this initiative from Ghana, because I'm looking at this thing from the African context. Because Africa is so diverse, and I think as South Africa sometimes we see us as South Africans, and then there's the rest of Africa, as if we are not in Africa,
which is so sad.
Which is really sad. So this xenophobia thing and whatnot. So, like, just your last words, just around that. How do we unite Africa in farming? And so what's your vision? Because I know there's a vision, right? So, what's your vision in that context?
It's funny you should ask. You see, with Alan, we are working on a research currently that.
So, for some of us that don't know, maybe some of our listeners who may not know who Alan is, just a brief context.
Alan is a colleague of mine that is the one that is assisting us with the farmers mentorship and everything. And the idea is to connect Africa, starting with this what called Southern Africa, to say that we have the same type of soil, we've got the same type of problems. Why don't we work together and get everyone? In Zimbabwe, we should have people representing certain crops. In Namibia, you name it, all these countries that are here to be able to combat hunger. One of the things that is happening, people are not aware. We're going to have 9 years of very difficult what call weather, and also it's going to be difficult food-wise. And if you've seen the prices of food in the shops, you should start paying attention. But the question is, why should we be hungry in Africa? Why are we always the one that is asking
for aid
when we've got enough land? And we then, in turn, when people come from outside, they are the ones that are able to make things happen in the same land that we've been sitting with for forever. I know this is going to sound very un-South African, un-African. But I'm going to say it because it's the truth. We cry about land not being available to us as Black Africans. But we can't even use the docile land that we have in our yard. So what is the use of having 100 hectares when we are not even going to be able to farm 1 hectare? You know why that is? It's because the inputs that are needed to farm are expensive. But as Africans, we don't want to work together. But here is what I want to say. Together, we are an ocean. Individually, we are mere raindrops. Until Africa unite and work together, we'll always be like this. We'll always be the weakest continent, and yet the most rich with land. We are blessed, but we cannot see that. Instead, we are chasing our shadows.
Oh, to our listeners and our viewers, you have been listening to episode 18 of the Diversity Roundtable with the inspirational Nonhlanhla Joye. This is just the beginning of the discussion, and I don't even think that we have even captured, like even a percent of what you the journey of life that we want. But one thing that I will say is that we are so grateful that we are here with you today. We are so grateful that we've managed to have almost an hour long discussion and get under your skin, literally. And thank you just for being who you are and just for being authentic, and thank you for making such an impact. So we need many, 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 many stories like these, in our country.
I'm humbled.
Thank you for being a blessing. And I'm just, I was saying to my colleagues earlier that there are no coincidences in life. I think we're all at a point where that you just don't meet people, especially where your heart and your mind and your spirit is in the right place. God will put people in your path that you are supposed to walk the journey of life with. And with that, I'm grateful that he put you in my path so that I can have this discussion. Thank you.
Franklin Covey South Africa actually does is really around leadership development.
Okay.
And developing leaders at all levels, instilling greatness, instilling habits of effectiveness in people, which I thought, it's funny how the universe works. To your point, that when you get into certain spaces, you then start attracting like-minded people. You start attracting those things that you really needed. Because what I really needed at that time to boost my confidence and to boost my, self-esteem, again, because as you can understand, coming out of a corporate environment, then you're on your own. Sometimes your self-esteem can take a knock, right? And I was like, oh, okay, actually there's someone who believes that, someone who holds such a big brand, they believe that I'm doing great work. But what also stood out for me was, I really needed to polish up my leadership, some of my leadership traits as well, in terms of letting go of some of self-limiting habits, self-limiting thoughts, self-limiting behaviors. How do I show up in my full self? And the more I got into the Franklin Covey content, it's, when you get those aha moments, and you get that thing that says, you know what, I'm in the right space. And I'm just really particularly excited that, more and more people then will get to, experience the great work that Franklin Covey does, because it really, what is a confidence booster. Yes, that's what it has done for me, because people are like, oh, actually you associated with this big brand. Yeah, then immediately that lifts your self-esteem, that lifts your confidence, but also knowing that I can help other people, right, who may be